Hello there friends and welcome! For today's Pathfinder guide we have at long last my MANTIS ZEALOT build, one of the new archetypes released in the Dance of Masks DLC. It's a character all about dual wielding the new weapon type, the Sawtooth Sabers, and will of course be enhancing them to the absolute max, so they'll hit even harder than great swords. This character is honestly a blast to play because of how stacked the MANTIS ZEALOT archetype is, including even from very early, as whenever you kill an enemy, you'll constantly crowd control the entire enemy pack, to the point where they cannot do anything at all but stand there and watch as you cleave them apart. It's a character that can be amazing for both offenses and even defenses later, with huge amounts of armor class by virtue of buffs alone. As an evil class, it was requested that I go with an evil mythic path, and I have chosen LICH because of how powerful it is for melee characters. This way you can be an undead Mantis God Assassin that lifesteals on every single one of your deadly Sawtooth Saber dual-wielded attacks, with even undead minions at your disposal too, of course. So without further ado, let us get started into our MANTIS ZEALOT build, first with character creation. Alright, I've already covered the main strengths of the MANTIS ZEALOT archetype in my previous new DLC archetypes guide, you can check to the side here. But to put it simply, it's quite a stacked subclass. For starters, you are meant to dual wield the new weapon type Sawtooth Sabers, which are light weapons that hit as hard as a long sword. And you'll get most of their special feats for free, like weapon focus and weapon specialization. Second, you have a lot of very powerful abilities added on top of your main Red Shroud power. This works kinda like a buff or an aura that starts granting you bonuses to dodge AC, which is great because it stacks with everything else, and even regeneration. As early as level 3 you can enhance it with one of my favorite new abilities in the game, Deadly Fascination. Whenever you kill an enemy, you will attempt to crowd control all of the enemy pack around you, because it hits a huge area, and if they fail the save, which can be very high, because by just virtue of dual wielding you already increase it by +4, even at level 3 when you get this, well, if the enemies fail the save, they'll become fascinated, one of the strongest forms of crowd control, because they can't do anything, they just stand there, unable to attack or move. The best part is that this procs on every single enemy kill. You kill one enemy, everything's crowd controlled. You kill another enemy, the same, it happens again and again. The enemies can attempt a new save to break free from the effect whenever they take damage, but unless you are constantly blowing enemies with area of effect spells, chances are most of the enemy pack will be constantly crowd controlled into submission by virtue of this alone. It's really that good. From level 7 onwards, you'll even add concealment on top of your Red Shroud, which is unique because it's not based on illusion, so enemies with true seeing cannot pierce it at all, great for the late game mythic demons. And of course, you'll still keep the best Warpriest core features, like spellcasting with divine spells up to level 6, great for buffs, weapon enhancements like a MAGUS, and of course even some bonus feats. So overall it is one of the best, most solid archetypes in the game. For race, I prefer going with humans as always for the extra feat and early game power. This character, I mean early game you will be quite starved for feats, but later from level 15 plus, you'll have a lot of free feats to spare, so human isn't exactly a necessity. For background, the classic Street Urchin and Pickpocket, initiative is even better now with the nerf to the Shattered Defenses feat. If you act first, you'll not only kill the enemies first to proc Deadly Fascination, but you also catch them flat-footed for lower AC. And yes, you will have high dexterity as well for higher initiative, so let's get into our stats now. Dexterity is the most important one of them all. Start with 19 unless you are going Legend, in which case you would start at 20. Besides that, 14 Wisdom you don't need anymore, you aren't a full caster like a Cleric or Oracle. 14 Constitution for a healthy amount of HP. Yes, we are going Lich, which means much later in the game your hit points will scale based on Charisma, but by that point you can just respec from Constitution into Charisma. It is kinda late, I mean chapter 5 only. Besides that, just 12 Strength, because it's going to be a while before you can apply your dexterity modifier to damage through Mythic Weapon Finesse, which comes around level 7 or 8. If you want a more balanced stat spread, you can always dump intelligence, which isn't needed for this build, and put the rest of the points into either strength or charisma if you don't want to respec as a lich later. For skills, as you're going all out into dexterity, the dexterity ones, trickery and stealth. Also mobility, but this can of course change depending on what other skills your party members are covering. CAVALIER, for example, can do trickery. Stealth not so much, it's usually only a Rochelet, which only comes later. Now what about our level 1 feats? As a human, we get 2 of them, which is great, as you need 2 weapon fighting for dual wielding, followed by weapon finesse of course to apply your dexterity modifier to attack rolls with your sabers. Rogues do get this for free at level 1, but I kinda hate multiclassing early and delaying the progression of your most important and powerful abilities like Deadly Fascination. I want it as early as possible. For deity, you are kinda locked into a Kaikak, which is the main deity of MANTIS ZEALOT, a lawful evil mantis god of assassins. For blessings, they are kinda like minor domains from the cleric class, but ideally WotR, one of the best ones. Both abilities are great. The first one lets you buff allies or even yourself with either +1 insight to attack rolls, great early, or most importantly +1 dodge to AC, great through the whole game, as it will of course stack with your Red Shroud, AC dodge bonus. This only lasts 1 minute, but you have multiple uses of it per rest. Later at level 10 you can also add the Vicious property to your weapon, which means an extra 2d6 points of irresistible damage. You'll also damage yourself when attacking, but as a lich it doesn't matter, because you're constantly regenerating hit points on every single attack through Vampiric Lifesteal. Besides that, just law to add Axiomatic, so extra damage against demons, the most common, toughest enemies in the game. And its unique Blessing Against Chaos feature at level 10 is also quite powerful. As a swift action, so instantly activated, you can increase the defenses of your whole party by +4 Sacred to AC, very good. It's really hard to find something similar elsewhere. And even saving throws against chaotic opponents, so demons. For alignment as a lich, either lawful evil or neutral evil. From level 2 onwards, you'll get more skill points as a human. Feel free to put them anywhere, including mobility, so you have all of the dexterity skills. The negative energy fervor, you are locked into picking this, which is kinda sad because it's a pretty bad ability, as opposed to the healing one. For level 3, my favorite feat choice is improved initiative. This is exactly when you get your powerful Deadly Fascination CC aura. And well, the faster and sooner you're acting, the sooner you're killing enemies and crowd controlling everything. Just remember that while this character can achieve very high AC later, early on you aren't really meant for tanking, especially on the higher difficulty modes like Unfair, so send a pet like the Leopard or your designated full tank ahead of you, as to catch the enemy's attention first. For level 4, increase dexterity, the same for all the other levels. For level 5, it's time to pick the classic Outflank feat, a must-have for any melee build. Warpriests are unique in that despite having medium base attack bonus progression, they can pick some feats just like a fighter, so at full BAB, which is why we get to pick this at level 5 instead of level 7. For level 6, it's time to pick the improved 2-weapon fighting feat as a bonus feat for the second offhand attack. For level 7 you have a few different options. You can for example pick the classic Lunge, which will add reach even to your dual sabers. Which of course means you can attack from far away. Great if you have a lot of melee characters so they don't block themselves. And well, it does have a penalty to AC, but the reach more than makes up for that. Besides that, you can also go with Piranha's Strike to increase both your main and offhand damage. This does carry penalties to attack rolls, but at this point you're already starting to get the best attack rolls, buffs and so on. I'll be going with Piranha's Strike, but remember Lunge is very good as well. You can even pick Combat Reflexes now because you will have very high dexterity for loads of attacks of opportunity. At level 8 you can buff your weapons with Axiomatic, which is very good because it's loads of damage against demons. For level 9, the same as usual, improved critical into our special Sawtooth Sabers. They don't have the best critical range, the same as a longsword, but it's what you get. For level 11, the last dual wielding feat for the third offhand attack, greater 2-weapon fighting. For level 13, I'll be picking Combat Reflexes, The main reason I don't pick it earlier is because you have other ways of increasing attacks of opportunity, like the Ever Ready mythic ability and the Clemency of Shadows ring. But you have such high dexterity bonus that, well, you'll just drown the enemies in attacks of opportunity. Like I said, there's also Lunge. I won't bother with the Shatter Defense's feat early, because this character can attack first anyways, and is always crowd-controlling enemies, especially after the nerf. Now here's the thing, from level 14 onwards, you can kinda multiclass this character if you want, because you already have a lot of powerful bonuses. Okay, I mean, you won't have the Capstone ability, which is fun, as you can teleport whenever killing an enemy constantly. Some other nice benefits, but it only lasts 1 minute and only comes at level 20. And well, you would still have close enough to full power through your Red Shroud main ability. Something fun is the classic Fighter, and Mutation Warrior, of course. This way you get a lot of feats, the mutagen for high dexterity, and weapon training for your Sawtooth Sabers. So 5 levels of Mutation Warrior and the classic 1 level of Ranger, Demon Slayer, for the extra damage against all demons. Because MANTIS ZEALOT is such a fun archetype, I'll keep this character pure. It's, well, full scaling on all abilities, and of course, higher DC for your Shroud, Deadly Fascination crowd control. But like I said, you have other options. For level 15, it's time to get Double Slice at last, as you'll have the maximum amount of offhand attacks, and it does work with dexterity. Besides that, honestly, the feats from now onwards are quite free, just pick whatever you want. You can of course still get Lunge, also Hammer the Gap, although the benefit is kinda minimal because of how fast you'll be killing enemies. And the classic Dazzling Display into Shatter Defenses, only because you have the feats to spare, and you're always acting first anyways. It's just that the best Sawtooth Saber in the game already makes the enemies flat-footed automatically, but that's only chapter 5+. Something fun you can do is get started into the power attack line of feats, just for Cleaving Finish, which of course means an extra attack when killing an enemy. But for me, Double Slice, and I'll just pick Lunge because I really like it, and at this point you'll have enough AC bonuses anyways. For level 17, Blind Fight, it helps against some of the late game enemies that have concealment sources you cannot bypass through the True Seeing spell. Since I don't care much for Shatter Defenses now, as I said, you can pick anything, I'll just go for Hammer the Gap, but it's not necessary at all. And for the last feat, pick whatever you want. Something fun as a Lich, you can also pick this earlier, at around level 15 or so, is grab Heighten Spell, because it provides you with a lot of extra flexibility for the Lich spellbook, and some spells there you wanna cast on every spell level, like Repurpose for Undead Minions, so it gives you more casts of those. And level 20 means our very powerful, but quite limited in duration, aspect of the Mantis Capstone. Now let's cover Mythic Progression for our MANTIS ZEALOT Warpriest, close to the Abyss as always, for the extra Gore attack. For the first Mythic ability, honestly you might as well go for Last Stand. This way you'll achieve the ultimate defenses, especially when combined with the Lich Vampiric Blade spell for Lifesteal at Mythic 3. But this of course comes way earlier. You can also pick Ever Ready even as early as this level if you prefer. Then for the second Mythic level, Mythic Finesse of course, you finally add Dexterity to damage with your Sabers. For Mythic 3, the classic Ever Ready, it's a must-have for any melee build, followed by the Lich spellbook. For the Skeleton Pet, as always I prefer the Marksman for Liches that cannot merge, so a Warpriest, because it's a ranged ally, and as a no-merged Lich you won't have that many spell slots to heal your Skelly, but if it goes ranged, well, it won't be getting hit by the enemy. For the first Lich power, as always for melee Liches, Fear Control. The bonuses to damage and attack rolls are just amazing. It even grants you a Fear Aura, which is quite thematic and very fun, so your assassin, MANTIS ZEALOT, not only has a Fear Aura to shake an enemies, but also a Crowd Control Fascination Aura, all for free. For Mythic 4, it's time for Mythic Critical and Sawtooth Saber, followed by the Skeletal Fighter upgrade, always the best one to increase its BAB. The bonus combat feat can be whatever, because honestly, the Skelly as an archer already has the best ranged feats through normal progression anyways, so pick whatever you want. Then weapon training into bows, of course. For Mythic level 5, something very fun you can do is pick Archmage armor for loads of extra defenses, because, well, first you have high dexterity, you don't want to be equipped with armor. Second, the LICH spellbook as a non-merged LICH does get the Mage armor spell, as early as Mythic level 3, which means it qualifies you for this. If you have a SKALD and want more attack power, go with Mythic Charge instead. For Mythic 6 you have a few options, either Mythic Piranha Strike or Mythic Specialization for higher damage. For the second Lich power, the best one is Death Rush, but because it works on combat maneuvers like Charge, it's only really good if you have a SKALD to provide the Pounce ability so you can charge and full attack. If you don't have a SKALD, you might as well go with Tainted Sneak Attack. While the DC won't be high because you don't have high intelligence, because this is essentially applied on every single one of your attacks and you are dual wielding, you have a gore, a bite, and so on, well, if the enemy rolls low on their saving throw, chances are they're gonna be stuck with this. And being vulnerable means extra damage taken to all weapons and elemental damage is a really good debuff. It even grants you sneak attack for free. For Mythic 7 it's very simple, Master Shapeshifter. This will increase all of your physical scores, and well, this is exactly the point where Liches get the Ice Body spell, which counts as polymorph and will qualify you for the Master Shapeshifter bonus. For Mythic 8, like I said, either Mythic Piranha Strike for higher damage, if you want higher attack rolls, although that's not needed as a Lich, Mythic Weapon Fighting or Mythic Weapon Focus. Mythic Initiative I don't find that necessary because you have super high dexterity anyways. I'd go for Mythic Piranha Strike, it's harder to get higher damage than higher attack rolls. Any other skeleton upgrade here now, but ideally Inquisitor or Magus for the weapon buffs. Cleric can also work, but you're already a Warpriest yourself, unless you want even extra divine support from the Skelly. For Mythic 9 you can really go with anything you want. I'd go with Mythic Charge for higher charge damage, it has synergy with Death Rush ability, but like I said, you really need a SKALD for the proper full benefit. Otherwise, just pick Deadly Magic to shut enemy spellcasters down. It's a really powerful effect. Better against the late game, really powerful enemy spellcasters. As far as Mythic level 10, any of the Mythic feats we covered before, like Mythic Weapon Focus, even Mythic Weapon Fighting, or well, Mythic Initiative. Now let's get into gear for our MANTIS ZEALOT. Well, for the amulet as always Velexiers, for the bonus to dexterity, the higher your dexterity, the more you're spamming your most powerful ability. You don't want any armor because it will clash with your huge dexterity bonus to AC, besides very early. So just go with Haramakis like Divine Guidance for the huge bonus to saving throws. For robes, the classic robe of the 7 sins, for higher caster level which helps with Lich buffs. Also Warpriest ones. But after buffing yourself, you might as well trade it for the Wandering Conman for the bonus to attacks of opportunity. For belts, early you want belts of dexterity, but ultimately Arodan's belt of course because of the extreme bonus to both attack rolls and damage. Considering you are dual wielding, bonuses to damage are even better. Spell Reflection is also great. For gloves, if you want extra defenses, then embroidered gloves later on, or earlier for more offensive potential. The classic Fencer's Gift, which does increase your damage when dual wielding, and also even better if you went with the Fighter multiclass for higher bonuses to weapon training. For boots, as always, Ronak Sacrifice, the ultimate boots for any dexterity based character. For helmets you have a few different options. I have the Hat of the Bitter End here. This can give you quite silly bonuses to attack rolls, as you slice and dice and kill enemies. But you know there's Shy Lily for the profane bonus to AC. There's also a helmet that increases initiative. For masks, Razmir is the best choice here for the huge bonus to all mental stats. Also, Spell Reflection, it's just that you can already get it from Arodan's belt, so you might as well leave it to another character. For double Spell Reflection on party members. Besides that, just the classic Broken Trickster glasses. For cloaks, you have a few options as a Lich, as you have 2 unique cloaks. Darkest Rites if you wanna buff the AC of all of your undead allies and yourself. or the Bound of Possibility, the special Lich Mythic Cloak variant, for huge stat bonuses to all undead allies, but it doesn't apply to yourself anymore. 4 rings, the classic Triumphant Advance as always, for the huge bonuses. And I also like the Ring of Guiding Star for the bonus to initiative and extra damage against undamaged enemies. You'll always be attacking first anyways, because of your huge dexterity. There's something to be said about Bane of Spirit, of course, as the effect is amazing, but nowadays it costs a swift action instead of free action. And as a Mantis Zealot, you have a few other swift abilities like your Warpriest Law Blessing Aura. So you might save this for another character, they can just apply it on yourself anyways. And for bracers, the new ultimate bracers of Slaughter, the ultimate bracers for, well, any character with weapons. 3d10 force on all of our saber attacks, thank you very much. Now let's cover weapons and consumables. We are of course going with Sawtooth Sabers, the most thematic and powerful weapon for this character. Even at the very start of the game, when you create your character, you'll already start with 2 cold iron Sawtooth Sabers, so finding them is not really a concern. But later you have very powerful ones, the best ones being first, that which based in blood is +5 necrotic, which is extra damage against all living enemies, including demons. And well, whenever it attacks a chaotic enemy, they are automatically flat-footed. It's amazing. After all, demons are chaotic. It also combines with our second offhand Sawtooth Saber, Praying Killer. If you've already attacked the enemy with Praying Killer, your that which based in blood will also ignore the enemy's armor and shield bonuses to AC, so you just melt the enemies because their AC will be reduced to nothing, as they are both flat-footed and highly debuffed. As far as Praying Killer, it's +4 and axiomatic. Great because usually you can only buff your main weapon with axiomatic, and grants you a very nice untyped bonus to attack rolls, which of course also works for the main hand. The secondary effect though of having a free intimidate check against enemies is not that good. You can find both of these Sawtooth Sabers at chapter 5 in the DLC festival from A Dance of Masks. Besides that, the new ultimate Sin Mage staff, just because it will increase your caster level for more powerful Lich and Warpriest buffs, ideally combined with the Robe of the 7 Sins we mentioned before for a +6 to caster level. Besides that, for your Quickslots, Bismuth, the Triceratops statuette for the Dinosaur Companion, if you want, as you aren't a class with a pet. The classic Signet of House Vespertilio for extra skills. Jarsigax, the Dragon Familiar for extra damage, which stacks with your Warpriest. Huge weapon buffs. And just some meta magic rods if you wanna have fun with a few Lich spells. Well, alright friends, so this was it for our MANTIS ZEALOT Warpriest build and guide. The next build will most likely be the Titan Fighter, the class that can dual wield 2-handed weapons. If you found this guide useful as always, please remember to like, subscribe and also consider becoming a channel member if you can. I highly appreciate your support. Thank you for watching and see you next time, friends.